guys, what's up? Unrested back here just to give you a real quick video before I head out to work today. I had a little bit of time, and so I thought I would go ahead and sit down and answer a question that I was asked quite a bit from the last video, and that is exactly what goes into purchasing a piece of property in Japan and moving in Japan. How is it different from, say, the States, where I'm from? There's quite a bit of difference. There is really quite a bit of difference when it comes to getting a loan, getting a mortgage. The first thing I want to tell you is, unless you have a resident visa in Japan, as a gaijin or a foreigner, you cannot actually own a piece of property. Okay? Resident visas, I don't want to say a certain amount of years you have to wait to get it. I know if you're on a work visa, usually you have to have a work visa for 7 years to get a resident visa, but then if you switch to a spouse visa, say if you get married like myself, the time you have to wait becomes less. But if you've already started on a work visa and switched to the spouse visa, I don't know how much that time is. So there's a lot of different specifications for that. I'm not going to go ahead and set a certain amount of time in concrete for you that says you can get a resident visa. Anyway, let's move on. This is not about visas. This is about buying a place. Anyway, buying a place. When you go to purchase a place here in Japan, you obviously, unless you have tons of money, you need to get a loan from a bank. And once again, that's a situation where you need to show some kind of permanence. You cannot exactly waltz in with a one-year work visa and say, I want a loan. Now, some people want to say, ooh, it's racist, you know, like they won't give us a loan here in Japan because I'm a gaijin. But think about their situation. You are only here for 1 year on a work visa, and you suddenly want to get a loan big enough to pay for a place, but you could leave the country at any time. Not a very wise investment by the bank, okay? They need some sort of security. So they're not going to exactly be quick to give anyone who's been here for a very short time a loan, which is understandable. Usually you will need either citizenship or a resident visa in order to get a loan. Now, if you have a Japanese spouse, like I do, they can of course be approved for the loan. That's probably the best situation. Otherwise, you've got a lot of red tape to cross. Now, when you're actually going to get a house or an apartment, you purchase them both pretty much the same way. It's usually marketed by a real estate company like ours was. It's ads in newspapers, flyers that are given out, all different types of ways you can find them. But the big, I guess, dilemma is when you are purchasing one, especially in a crowded area like Tokyo or Osaka where I live, you are going to be fighting the rat race to try and get it. What I mean by that is, in America, if you're going to purchase a house and someone else attempts to purchase the house or apartment, condo, whatever at the same time, usually you can get into a bidding war and outbid them in order to get the place if it's your absolute dream place. In Japan, that just doesn't work. Pretty much first come, first serve. It doesn't matter if you want to offer more money. If another person came there to look at the house before you and goes to get a mortgage and is approved, they will get the house first. I experienced this with a 3LDK, that means 3-bedroom, living room, dining room, kitchen apartment I attempted to purchase before this one, which is a 4LDK, 4-bedroom. And it didn't work because there was one couple ahead of us and they had just been there first and offered their money first. That was the only thing that set them ahead of us. We could have offered $1 million and they still would have said, well, we're sorry, but they were here first. I know it sounds crazy. It's just a different way, all right? Everything's different when it comes to real estate. So then I guess you actually get into the purchasing of the house. Usually you sit down and it's what you're probably used to if you've ever seen a house signing take place. You sit down, agree upon a price, sign the contract, show that you have approval of a loan, and that's that. Usually you got to put a couple things into the contract, or some are verbal contracts, as far as if they want to stay in the house a little bit longer, making sure certain furniture is taken out and certain furniture is left if you've agreed upon special situation as far as furniture. But other than that, I mean, it follows suit to what you might be used to in the States. Finally, moving. Moving was a pretty big task. One of the most difficult things about moving here in Japan is it is outrageously expensive. You will not be charged by the time, you'll actually be charged by the weight of your stuff. And every company is a little bit different, and actually usually the best way to go about it is call a couple different companies, have them come in and take a look at your furniture, and they will give you an estimate before they even move the stuff. They won't just say, hey, guess what, this is the bill after they've done it. And what they'll do is they'll actually compete for it. They'll come in and try to give you a lower price than another company. One really smart thing my wife did, and it's something you might want to try yourself if you're ever moving here, is she wrote down a list of companies on a piece of paper as far as quotes they had given her. And then for one company, she wrote a very low quote and held the piece of paper while she was listening to the next company come. They, of course, are eyeing this paper the whole time they're talking to you and looking at the other quotes of the other companies. They will then try to outbid the other company and give you a lower price. This, in turn, gave us the lowest possible price. Now, you can't be ridiculous. You can't write 1,000 yen. One company wanted to give me 1,000 yen to move everything in my house. It's like $10. Okay, they're not going to believe that. But for us, it was about, I'd say about 150 American dollars, the equivalent to that, to move the stuff in our house. Now, we only had about 3 big pieces of furniture moved. That was it. We moved everything else ourselves, and that was a lot of work because I say ourselves, we moved it ourselves, but really it was me because my wife's pregnant and I'm not going to make her move boxes. Okay, I'm not going to make her pack. I told her just to lay down. So pretty much if you can, I would suggest trying to move as much stuff as you can. Borrow a car, ask a friend to borrow a car, somehow try to move as much as you can because the higher the weight of the move and the more time that you use from the movers, the more expensive your move is going to be. I said we paid $150, but my wife's sister decided to let them do everything themselves as far as moving. The moving company I'm talking about here cost her about $7,000, and they only moved her about 100 meters. 100 meters, I'm serious. Like it was like a down the street, like across the street from one apartment to another. $7,000. No joke. Not being, not exaggerating anything there. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to keep this short. We're at about 7-8 minutes right now, so I want to go ahead and cut this off. Any other questions you might have about moving or buying a place, feel free to send me a message. That's actually one I don't really get too much. Otherwise, I get probably 90% of my questions are the same thing again and again that I've answered in a million videos. So this is kind of new for me. It was a new experience, and it's something new that you can ask. I'll see you next time on JFAQ with Unrested. Bye-bye.